And we're live.
Well, welcome. I'm Dr. Tricia Seymour.
I'm Dr. Rusty Barrier.
And this is Intellikia.
Yes, it is. And tonight we are talking about to choose or not to choose. Do we actually have free will?
And that thing says, do we really choose things in our life, or is it in our DNA? What role does your genetics and epigenetics play in your choices? Is everything just predetermined? Join us for a look at free will from a different perspective.
So that means our chief science officer is going to do a lot of talking tonight.
So free will, when we think of free will, right, we think everything we make as a choice is free will. And in a way, again, we're talking different views of free will. In a way they are. So if I said, do you want chocolate or vanilla ice cream, and you told me you wanted chocolate, we could say you made a choice, and that choice is free will. The question we're answering tonight is it really?
So I'll chime in at first, because she's going to go, as I said, the science route and the DNA route with all this. But is that really a choice? You said you want chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream. Either one you pick, you're still getting ice cream, aren't you? It's a limited choice. That happens to us all the time. As a parent, you would look at your child and go, do you want Cheerios or do you want Fruit Loops? Again, whatever they choose, they're still getting cereal. So they're really, sometimes when you think you're making a choice, there isn't really a choice. It's just the illusion of choice.
Did you want to do a...
Not really.
Okay. So it's not only that they got ice cream or cereal, but they also only got a limited choice of ice cream or a limited choice of cereal. So
yeah, notice we weren't at Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, right. We weren't getting 100 different flavors you could pick from. You give them 2, right? So
but even then, it's still ice cream.
Right. That's true. So you hear a lot about you have free will, and of course that's a big part of our culture, is about being able to make choices and about your life and all this kind of stuff. And now I want you to think about this. So let's say I picked chocolate ice cream over vanilla because I like chocolate better than vanilla. And then you have to say, why do you like chocolate rather than vanilla? Well, a couple of reasons. One, my taste buds like chocolate rather than vanilla. Not that I dislike vanilla, nothing against it, but if I have to pick, I'll always pick chocolate. My taste buds really like chocolate. So that now is a genetic feature. The fact that my taste buds actually taste something different than someone else.
A good example of how that plays out is with an herb that almost everybody eats on a regular basis.
And it's in lots of foods and lots of restaurants.
Cilantro. Right? See, I see a face being made over here and over here. The same is true for Tricia and I. Right? We don't like cilantro because it tastes like soap to us.
So that means my taste buds in my mouth make cilantro taste like I put a bar of soap in my mouth.
Now, we knew that all along, all right? But what was amazing is we actually did the DNA test, 23andMe, and one of the things it came up with inside of our genetics was, you will not like cilantro because it tastes like soap. All right? That's not a free will whether I want to like cilantro or I want to eat cilantro. It's literally programmed into this body how it will taste to me.
And the majority of the people who eat cilantro love it, and they want it, and they want more. And some people say they can never get enough cilantro loaded on, right? On their tacos and their burritos and all of that. And part of what the DNA said was that if you have more Central European genetics, cilantro tastes like soap. If you have more Latin American or others, there were some other countries and continents, if that's where your genetics are from, cilantro tastes good to you.
I think I'd like it because I had my mouth washed off with soap by my grandmother often enough as a child, but it's a whole different story.
So I could say, I'm gonna have cilantro on my meal, and you want cilantro or not, and I say yes or no, I'm gonna say no. Is that free will? Did I make a choice consciously to say no, or did I listen to my genetics and my body, right? So, remember I said, this is not as easy of a topic as it sounds. The other part, back to chocolate. So I really like chocolate. My taste buds like chocolate, my mouth likes chocolate, everything about me likes chocolate. My epigenetics likes chocolate. My family of origin, growing up, chocolate was one of the things my mother also really liked. So, and my father, so we had a lot of chocolate around. So when it was time to, I'm a little kid crying, I didn't get a vanilla ice cream, I got a chocolate ice cream, right? I'm having a bad day, my mother's not handing me strawberry pie, she's giving me a piece of chocolate. So all my warm fuzzy memories from childhood that revolve around any kind of food revolve more around chocolate than they do any other flavor. So now I have a physical predisposition. I have both parents who genetically like chocolate for various reasons. I have the experiences that I've had in my life of chocolate that were all positive. And so now when I eat a piece of chocolate, it becomes more than just, oh, I had chocolate, that was nice. I have all these good feelings about it.
Reinforcers.
Right. So now again, I go to a restaurant and they ask if I want chocolate or vanilla ice cream, and I say chocolate. Did I really make a choice? Was there even a thought in my mind? There probably wasn't even a thought in my mind about vanilla, because chocolate's programmed into my psyche for all of these various reasons, both genetically and in my family of origin.
Which brings you to your next point of do we really choose? Because neuroscience, especially neuropsychology at this point, is starting to look at when do we make a decision. And what they have found is that any decision you think that you are about to make, your brain has decided moments before you're consciously aware of your decision.
So what they did was
So who made the decision?
attached your brain to I think it was an EEG machine.
Yeah.
Anyway, to a brainwave scan to watch spikes in your brain. And then they'd ask you a question, and before you give the answer verbally, they'd see if there was a spike. And they started to get so good at it, they could tell if it was they gave you yes or no questions. They could tell if the spike was going to be a yes out of your mouth or a no out of your mouth. So some part of your brain already decided yes or no before it ever came out of your mouth. So we think we agonize over decisions, and your brain already has the answer, and it's already making the decision before the words come out of your mouth. So again, did you consciously choose, or did some part of your brain subconsciously already make that decision for you? Kind of weird, huh? So yeah, did you choose?
No.
And talk about epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
So genetics are what you're born with. It's the DNA.
Well, they are both what you're
Yeah.
born with. You are both born with genetics, which is long-term, runs all the way back to, if you have Neanderthal DNA and you've got all that way back too. But epigenetics are the things that make genetic shifts within the immediate time frame of your parents and grandparents. They can go a little further back sometimes, but it really is that immediate shift. If your grandparents, my grandparents grew up during the Great Depression, all right, so there were things that they experienced. Lack of food, for one, okay? So there would be a tendency inside of me, because of that experience that they had that was stored as a memory inside of me, that I wouldn't want to eat a little more than I actually needed, because there was that sense of scarcity, right? That's one example of epigenetics.
Mm-hmm. So again, that kind of, your question goes back to, did I choose?
Right.
Did I make when we think
Am
of...
I choosing to overeat, or is it just a reaction that I'm having because of something that's stored genetically inside of me?
Right. And when we think of free will, we think of making a conscious choice, right? That's, if you had to define what is free will, which we probably should have started with, it would be making a conscious choice of something. So if you look at all these different things we just talked about, we don't actually make a lot of conscious choices. Most of it we've either already determined somewhere in our subconscious and made the decision, or our genetics have already made the decision for us, or our life experiences have already made the decision for us. So, is there free will?
You know my answer.
And it is?
No.
Right.
We do not actually have free will.
Not in the traditional way we
Not in the
think of
way
it.
that most people think of it. You say, well, how about my soul? Right? My soul decided I wanted to come to this planet. My soul picked, and this is the normal thing that people will tell you. It picked the family I was going to. It picked the experiences I am going to tell you, you are incorrect. Right? Because when you normally say, I chose, the only I you are generally talking about is your ego. Remember, we've talked about this a lot in these classes. Your ego is nothing more than the operating system or the user interface that goes with your body. It is not you, just as your body is not you, right? And at the soul level, your soul doesn't even belong to you. It is part of Source. So if there was a choice that was ever made, it was a choice made by Source to experience something in this dimension. Right? Not you. Not, and you say, why are we saying this? What is so important about this? This is actually one of the steps to awakening. When you realize that what you identify as Rusty or what you identify as Tricia is not who we are, right? We have to go beyond that, to go back to Source, to connect to Source, to remember, oh yeah, that, not this.
I studied for quite a while with Kabbalistic rabbis, and one of the things that they say is they truly believe there is no free will. They say the only free will that there is. Now, we're not talking predetermination, so before I go there, predetermination is a little bit different. The old, and there's still some Christian denominations that believe in this, but if there's a predetermined, much like you said, if everything's already planned out before you get here, then there is no choice at all. So there's a fine line between everything already being figured out and planned out in your genetics and everything is my free will and my free choice. There's something in between those two, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So it's not like there's no free will at all and there's nothing that you can do to change anything, and it's not like, or the other side, where every choice from chocolate to vanilla is free will and I can pick anything I want. So if you look back at all of your decisions over your life, where you live, what you do for a living, all those things, you could say you pick them, but again, if you have an aptitude to a particular career, and that's the direction you go, it's an aptitude. Was that a choice? Right? The Kabbalistic rabbis said there is no free will except one possible thing. If you go against your nature. So an example would be someone who has been a thief all their life. And that's just like they grew up in a family of thieves, they're used to stealing, they steal whatever they want, and that's just the way their life has always been. So that's in their DNA, that's in their epigenetics, that's how they were brought up, that's what they do, that's all they know. When that being makes a choice to not steal, to go against their biology, that is the only time there's truly free will. That's the only time when you go against your biology. That would be the only time you actually have a choice. You've made an actual choice.
And another way of saying that is the choice is between whether you are wanting to be a servant to others or it's all about you. Okay. Right now in society, everyone throws around the word narcissist like candy. And from a psychological point of view, I really wish they wouldn't do that, because it doesn't do a service to anyone. It actually does a disservice. But that's really kind of the point here, is if you're only serving yourself, if any action you do, even if it appears on the surface that you're doing it for someone else, but in reality you're doing it, and you have to be honest with yourself on this, if you're doing it because you feel good about yourself when you do that, that's still serving yourself. That's not really serving the other person, right? So a different way to look at that is if you have a dog and you put a piece of meat down on the floor and the dog's sitting there looking at it, and you can see the saliva drooling down their mouth and they're really ready, and the doorbell rings and the dog runs to the door. Was that choice? Did they actually make a choice? Oh, I'm not going to eat now, I'm going to go check the door. Or was that nothing more than instinct? And that's what the Kabbalists actually say is really what's at play with you and I as human beings, is 99% of the time you are simply operating out of animalistic instinct in the choices you think you make. You're really not choosing.
So it doesn't denigrate anything. I still like chocolate over vanilla. I just know why. I don't assume my picking chocolate over vanilla is free will. I just know that it's a choice that I make because of all the things I just described. So it doesn't change you picking one thing over another. It just shifts whether that's truly free will. Making a choice isn't really, in most cases, free will, because you're choosing from your history and your biology. So again, doesn't say that's bad, it just shifts the definition of free will from our common use all the time of free will, right? People pick one job over another because it pays them better. You could say that's free will, and it also may be programming that they need to make more money, or they need more money for their family or whatever.
Or more money equals status in their mind.
Or more money, right, equals status, or their family didn't have money, so
right.
They want to do something. So again, it's just, all it is it's really semantics, but it shifts how you see what choices you make.
And really what we're asking of you is to just become aware. Bring your awareness to the choices you think you're making. Or what is the reason for the choice? Is it possible that you're just on remote control?
And that would be the catch. The question is, can you stop the remote control? So sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, I'm probably always going to pick chocolate over vanilla because I have no desire to go against that nature. I like it, right? Doesn't harm anybody. It's something I like. And there may be times where you have a first reaction that you want to do something, and you choose not to. You choose to go against whatever that base nature is to do something else. That would be the only time you truly would truly have free will, is when you go against something. And again, most of it is not an issue. We're not out stealing and rampage, pillaging and plundering anymore. But go ahead.
But an example is you're walking along and you see someone drop a $100 bill on the ground. You have a choice at that moment, don't you? Pick it up and return it to them, or pick it up and stick it in your pocket. All right?
And if your first response is to stick it in your pocket, and you go against that response and you return it to them, then that's free will. Does it make sense? Sorta? Look confused? Who knows?
It is confusing.
But really, it's a semantics thing. But I think the reason I thought it was an important topic is because everybody runs around all the time thinking everything is, woo, free will, I have free will, I have free will, I'm making choices. And you have the illusion of free will within the game. And so it's just a matter of understanding what really are choices. And typically, the true choices, when you truly have free will and you're making a choice, those are usually the choices that are harder. They're the choices to, where you first of all thought would be to stick it in your pocket, and the choice is to not do that and to give it to the person that dropped it. That's when it goes against what your first reaction is, which would always, for most of us, be self and self alone, right? The first reaction tends to be self, and we go against that reaction is when you truly have free will.
Okay. And I think this is one where we probably ought to stop talking now
We can.
and let them ask questions.
Did you want to pause it or not?
I'll pause it.
Okay.